Hello and welcome to Shoot Podcast, brought to you by Shoot Business. This is episode 2, and I'm delighted to be joined by Nomi Farouk, our director. So welcome, Nomi.
Hi everybody, good to be here.
Perfect. So I really want to delve into the sort of the journey of Shoot Business and how we obviously got to here to this day. And I think a really great place to start would be, how did you get started in the video production industry?
Cool, good stuff. Cool, getting straight into it then, straight into the deep end. Cool. So I graduated. So I did a degree originally. I did a business and IT degree here at Manchester Metropolitan University. And quite early on, I realised I didn't really want a degree job. I wanted to set up my own business. If I had my own choice, I probably would have dropped out of uni and tried to set something up. But I think at that time, I just thought to myself, I'll keep doing stuff on the side. I keep doing certain creative projects. So while I was at uni, I would do sort of freelance jobs for sort of graphic design work and anything creative, really. Because quite early on, I realised half my brain was creative and half my brain was entrepreneurial. And I needed to merge them two together somehow in the future. But at that age, when I was at uni, my options were quite open. So I thought, okay, let's get the degree out of the way, enjoy the uni life and all that comes with it. Turn up to a few lectures, get my degree, and we can see what we can do after that, and back into the sort of adult world, if you like. So that's what I did. I did a 4-year degree with a placement, graduated, and while 99% of all my mates and sort of university mates were disappearing off into graduate jobs and, the exciting world of their careers, I was kind of going in the opposite direction. I was like, I don't want a degree job. I'm not going to apply for anything. I'm going to take this entrepreneurial route. So I started exploring business ideas, and I started to explore, what I enjoy and stuff. And I did try a few things early on, got into e-learning, got into sort of looking at different businesses. And to me, it didn't really actually matter at that time. I just had a very keen interest in entrepreneurship, into businesses, and it didn't really matter to me. But then start to see something changing in the world when it came to digital and creativity. The social media boom was happening. Things were moving heavily towards sort of the digital era. And this is kind of, going back 15, 20 years, but it's, to me, I could see something on the horizon. I could see something happening with creativity. I could see something happening with content. So I decided, okay, what am I good at? I'm good at creativity. What can I do in terms of offering content to people? So I started off as a freelancer, started doing freelance projects for sort of web design, graphic design, working with different businesses. And that kind of gave me the experience of kind of talking to businesses and talking to brands originally. And then in my head, I just started to see the beginning of the video boom. Start to sort of...
It's weird that you say that for me, because obviously I feel like I've always just been in the video boom sort of thing.
Yeah, it sounds quite funny. Like when I first started pitching to companies, when I set up Shoot Business, I had to convince them why they needed video. And I had to kind of say, okay, video is going to be big in 2 years. It's going to be big in the next year. All the social media networks are going to start gearing towards video. And they were like, nah, we just need a website. Are you sure we need video? And it's kind of, obviously we don't need to sell that anymore. Every serious business and brand know they need video content. But back then it was like, it's almost like when the website boom came in and everybody was turning around to business and saying you need a website to survive. And I was kind of a bit beyond that. I was saying, look, you do need a social media and a website. It's essential for brand and marketing, but I think video is going to be the biggest player. I think video is going to be, the most consumed content when it goes forward. So that's the stage I was at. So I decided, okay, I want to set up a video company. I'm going to call it Shoot Business, which obviously it's all in the name in terms of what we do. And that way I kind of attuned to my passion and creativity a little bit, because I got to work with businesses and I also got to be creative at the same time. So it kind of fulfilled that need. And when I started, it literally was a one-man show. I went sort of transitioning from freelance into a business. So kind of the first clients I got, I didn't have any experience in creating video content. So I was pretty much self-taught. I learned it all myself in terms of the shooting, editing, the video marketing side of things, and sort of how to deal with clients. It was all self-taught. Like my degree didn't teach me any of that. So once I was comfortable doing the first few projects, I got a bit of work experience in various companies in my placement year. The place that I worked over there, I was doing a lot of e-learning content. So I was already starting to produce educational content at that point. But then I decided, okay, people are going to need content for marketing. They're going to need it to communicate the messages, and marketing departments are just going to need videos every day at some point. So when I set up Shoot Business, it was literally me dealing with the whole sort of production process. So, I remember getting my first client on LinkedIn, and the client was like, right, we're going to send you.
What was the client?
It was a healthcare client. So it was in oncology. So the client was like, we've got this doctor, can we send them down to your studio and, you interview them, edit a short piece on X, Y, and Z, put a few questions on screen and send it back to us. And I was like, yeah, sure, I'll do that. So I literally did that whole process from start to finish, moved the office about, made it look like a studio, got the doctor down. And yeah, it was all good. And then as I got that first project in, it just opened up more new ideas to me. It was like, look, okay, there's obviously a need for this in healthcare. Hence why we're quite strong in healthcare. It was one of our first clients. So, we're kind of well versed in that particular industry. But I also found a bit of enjoyment from it, speaking to the doctor and, asking them questions. And there was a lot of jargon in there that I had to break down. And, it was a big learning process, but I did a good job on that project. And then that particular client just kept coming back to me for more work. And that kind of helped get the business off the ground, because video production still today, but even back then, is not an easy or it's not a cheap process to get a video production company off the ground due to the equipment and the time and people needed. So it was good that I got that job, and I don't know if I was quite lucky or fortunate, but that LinkedIn ad came. It was up for 2 days, got a deal in by the end of the week, and, I was working on the project, the week after. And that doesn't happen on LinkedIn nowadays. Like it's a lot more difficult. So I was quite fortunate, maybe divine intervention, if you like. But, from that point on, it was kind of, okay, full steam ahead. There's something happening here. I've got a product, I've got a service. And the thing with creative and video production industries, you don't have anything until you have a portfolio. So when I was out there selling, and they were like, where's your portfolio? And I was like, I don't have a portfolio, I've just started. And, getting projects like that in just meant I could speak to more people in healthcare. And it just gave me that opportunity. So that's kind of how it all kind of kicked off. And then maybe, a year or two into the business, I realized I can't be doing everything in a video production business, because there's so many cogs, if you like. And, even back then I realized, look, at some point I need to be out there talking to clients, and I need to have a video production team behind me. And quite quickly, started to get people on board with me, other young individuals who still work here today. So Alex, our head of production, was kind of one of the first people I approached and said, look, I need someone to handle production, and I'm happy to use you. And he was freelancing at the time, and I was like, yeah, let's just start a relationship, sort of freelancing. And as time went on, we started to get more projects in. He started to kind of become a permanent member of the company. And yeah, today he still heads up our video production. So yeah, must be doing something right if he's still here. So yeah, from there I just started to pick talents up in production, because I just wanted to make sure that our production facility was good and the quality of work was good, rather than go out there and get a load of work in and make a load of mistakes. So, from project to project, we start to learn more, start to get more projects in, word of mouth start to kick in. Then obviously the timing with the video boom, a year or two later, all the marketers and all the businesses are thinking about video content. We want a video. And there was also a transitional process for that. So like even back then, people thought, okay, we'll just get a big 5-minute video and that'll last us 1 year. And again, that's not the case today. You need regular video content, obviously. But back then, I was still saying to them, one video is not going to be enough for you in the long run. But yeah, it's a good place to start, to get that one corporate video out of the way, that one promotional video. And we would create that. And we've had to adopt quite quickly because the technology is changing at the same time. Because especially in the healthcare industry, we were getting sent to all kinds of places around the world to film different doctors and turn up in different locations. So the equipment that we had to be portable, had to be kind of, we had to be able to set up studios in various different locations and do our work. And the technology has enabled us to do that. You don't need big shoulder cameras anymore, as you've seen. And sort of, loads of big lights and equipment nowadays. So that meant that the business became more flexible and portable. So we weren't fixed in Manchester. We were essentially just going anywhere we like and producing the content. So yeah, that's kind of how we started, literally from zero, or, if you take my student loan into account, it's from minus. But yeah, literally I didn't borrow any money. I didn't do anything. I just had my freelance work, had whatever, paid the bills, and then decided, look, I'm just going to go out there and get the work. And once the work started coming in and we started taking money, it just started from there and literally grew organically from there. So, we didn't, other than the help I got in advice and mentors and people giving me the freelance work, it was just literally an entrepreneur, without sounding too cliche, with a wing and a prayer, going forward. So yeah, that's how it started.
Yeah, I definitely want to sort of delve sort of further deeper into, I suppose, like the struggles and what was your sort of biggest challenges at that point? And did you ever get to the point where you thought, actually, this is too much, or like with long hours or financial, etc.?
When I think back, I think why I didn't have them issues, but when I was that young, I was just full of confidence. And, it didn't matter to me if I failed or not. I just wanted to just go out there and give it a shot, put my all into it, and go forward. There was always that part of me who was like, is this going to work? Am I going in the right direction? But like I said, it was just full of confidence, and not taking no for an answer, not giving up, just a lot of persistency, a lot of consistency. There were a lot of bumps in the road, like when projects don't come in, money doesn't come in, and this problem becomes a lot more apparent when you start to take people on. When you're a freelancer, if the projects don't come in, you just sit at home and, eat tin beans for a week. So but when you start, we're a growing company, you've got more people that rely on you, and the project base becomes kind of more, if you like, if it goes down, it has more of an impact on the business. But back then it was just like, if I fail, I don't care, but I'm going to keep going. And, there's always them choices that people have to make. Should I just get a full-time job and get more income in, or should I just carry on going down here and suffer a little bit more? So it's kind of, I just carried on in. My opinion was, look, I'm going to keep doing this, and I'm going to kind of at least try. And yeah, I didn't really, I had typical business problems, but mentally I thought I was quite strong in terms of sort of moving forward and saying, look, I'm going to do this anyway. Obviously early problems were like, getting the right clients, speaking to the right people, not having a portfolio was a big one, because, I'd go into companies and they'd be like, what kind of work have you done in this area? And for me, it was just about being honest at the time with the people that I was speaking to. I didn't need to lie and say, look, we're a big video production company and we work in this area, and, typical sort of sales thing to get the job through the door. I was quite honest with the people I approached in the beginning. I said, look, I'm just starting this business. I'm really creative. I understand marketing. I've got these ideas. Do you want to give me a shot? And there was them one or two people who just gave me them early breaks, really, and said, yeah, we'll give this guy a go. And it just goes to show that, like, people work with people. So, my thing was, building trust in them relationships. And it's still probably even more apparent today that we have to build trust with the people that we work with for them to use us. And it wasn't just about showing work and how good you are. It was just about, like, being honest and giving that person the impression that, we want to work with Nomi, we want to give him a shot and see what you can do. And then obviously I did a good job after that, and then they sung our praises, or, word spread around and we got more work from it. So yeah, it's kind of the early challenges were probably your typical startup problems. If you want to, like, look at that side of things, then yeah, cash flow was a big issue always. And then, we started to learn around that. And then what prices to charge was another thing, even sort of 3 or 4 years into the business, people were telling me you're not charging enough for your services. So, that became quite apparent. Don't have as much problem now, but I think finding the right people, if I wanted to grow the business, getting the right people in the right places was always a challenge. And then for me, it was just about keeping up with trends and technology and the way the industry is moving, because I wasn't selling something which stood still, because the technology landscape and digital landscape was constantly changing. I had to constantly change according to that. And then it's only in the last 3 or 4 years where I've thought, okay, we need to niche down a little bit in terms of our target personas, who we target, and that ability to say no to certain particular clients or industries, because that's not what we do. So yeah, it's in the beginning it's hard to reject work because you're just trying to get the money in. So I was accepting work around video production. I was still accepting work around graphic design. I was still accepting work around website design because I could develop websites. And eventually it came to a point, getting years in, where that was taking me away from focusing on a video business. Nowadays, if someone comes to me and says, "Can you develop a website?" I'll just say, "No, I can't. We don't do that." Even though I could, now it's more about focus and time, and getting to the people that we want to work with.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's why we sort of bang on about personas and stuff like that, and making sure that we're targeting the right people and working with the right clients that are a good fit to our business.
Yeah.
Do you remember like a sort of a key milestone? It could be even quite recently, over the past few years, that have actually allowed you to kind of scale the business, grow the business, and sort of build a team from there? Yeah,
absolutely. So, there's different stages of the business, if you like, and this will continue with this business as all businesses. The startup stage, if you're a startup out there, you are doing everything. I was doing the website, I was doing the sales, I was doing the marketing, I was producing the video content, I was trying to do the upsells, I was going out there getting new clients. And that's all well and good, and not every entrepreneur needs to do that, but I think that you need to have a good knowledge of it, because I had that experience and knowledge of the whole business, when I brought people in, it made it a bit easier for me to understand. Like, if I didn't understand video production and I'm working with someone who's meant to be my production manager, we were on the same page, because I understand production, they understood production, I understand creativity, and I was able to contribute to it rather than take over or just not understand it. So that in the early stages, that's what I was doing. I was doing everything. And then it started to change a little bit when I was bringing other people, and I made the decision at some point years into the business that, look, I need to stay away from production if I'm going to allow it to grow. And this is what a lot of entrepreneurs and leaders get wrong, is they don't let things happen. They just want to stick the beacon everywhere and disrupt stuff. And that's okay in the beginning. When you're starting out, you got to bootstrap, you got to save costs, you got to get things off the ground, which is great. But then you cannot continue like that for the rest of the business, and it's not healthy for the business, and it's probably not healthy for the entrepreneur, to be honest with you. You do have, when you start up, I was working all hours of the day. I sacrificed a lot of my social time. Made a lot of sacrifices in that startup phase, where everybody else was out there having fun with their 9-to-5 jobs and weekends off and all that kind of stuff. So for me, I was just quite focused on getting it off the ground, and in the back of my head I knew there was a transition somewhere. The problem I had is I didn't have many mentors advising me on what that transition looks like. So how you go from a startup to employing 1 or 2 people to scaling it up, and seeing the growth. But yeah, as time went on, obviously I started to speak to more business people. I still don't have a solid mentor, I would say, who's advising me every week or every month, but I have been in certain masterminds, and I've been looking at other agency owners and the agency industry and how they do things. And kind of a really big turning point for me was when I could sit there and say, I've got nothing to do with production anymore. And literally, I would pass a client on to production, they'd take care of it. They would take care of it. And, they were dealing with the client, an invoice was raised and I would hardly speak to the client throughout the production. So I started to automate more stuff as time went on, sort of incrementally. And kind of, fast forwarding to today, over the last few years, it's been like our business comprises of essentially two elements. You've got production on one side and sales and marketing on the other side. And, you've got orders coming in, sales and marketing are doing their thing. They're passing orders on to production. Production do a great job, look after the client. And then sales and marketing might come in at the end to see how it went. So, I understood those two elements, and I saw it almost like a factory. You've got a production unit there, you've got a sales and marketing unit there. They're funneling orders over the wall to production. And they're taking care of it. Sales and marketing then go off and get more work and kind of do it that way in a simple form. And my target for the last few years has been, automate that thing for it to scale. And, there's a few things in there where I found difficult when it came to sales and marketing, because eventually production were doing their thing and I was doing my thing, getting the deals in. But I didn't have an official process for selling. I wasn't exactly winging it. I knew what I was doing, but I didn't have a process. It was all in my head, basically. I would go in, do my thing, and I was doing things which salespeople do from a psychological perspective, but I didn't realize I was doing it. And the difficult thing for me became, when I get another salesperson on, how the hell do I transfer my knowledge and my experience over to them so they can do the same thing? And as I started to break it down, there was actually a lot involved in terms of what I was doing and the process and actually how it works. Actually, I wasn't just selling, I was consulting with people, I was advising people, I was talking about the businesses, I was talking about the marketing, I wasn't just talking about video production. So, that became apparent. So the first thing I did was just start to record my calls and get people to monitor my calls and see what's happening. My meetings and stuff, I started to record them. And even then, I found it difficult to kind of bring on salespeople and transfer that knowledge over, because, there's different models out there, but I felt that we were doing things which were quite bespoke. You can't just pick it up off the shelf. You actually have to listen to people. You have to ask questions from the client or the brand, and you have to show initiative on the response. And this is what I was doing, and I found that quite difficult. But in the last sort of year or two, other people have started to do sales and marketing, and it's become another turning point where there's clients coming through the door right now which I don't even know about or I don't even speak to, and they've sales and marketing got them in, production have done the job, and Nomi hasn't even spoken to any of them, and the whole process has just run itself. And I think that's a good turning point when it comes to, okay, if these processes and systems are on point, we can scale further from here. This is our jumping board to actually, being a bigger agency than we are, which, we're not the biggest agency in the world. We're kind of a small, creative focused team, and that actually helps our clients. And a lot of the comments we get on our work is that they think we're a really, really big agency, like 100-person plus agency, when they see some of our work and the work that goes into it, which is probably a testament to our team, for people to have that impression. And for me, it's not about numbers anymore. It's kind of working with the right clients and focusing on quality over quantity. And things are changing these days, because video production has taken a change again. AI has come in. People are producing more of their own content, hence why now we're transitioning into almost a consultative business. And yeah, we still are very strong in video production. We produce amazing video content, but now we're starting to explore how do we teach our knowledge to other brands and businesses. And we've started to do workshops, and we've just released our online course in video marketing. And that's going to be an interesting journey. I think that's going to be interesting for everybody here, where we're just going to be teaching people and getting paid for it. So there's a few turning points there, and I'm expecting a few more. But in the last 1 or 2 years, it's been a good experience in terms of I'm actually getting to the stage where I'm trying to find where I'm most useful in this business, which is a bit scary at times because nobody wants to feel useless in their own business, but it's a good sign in the sense that I'm now starting to focus on, right, where am I most important for the people in this business and the business itself, and exploring that. And I think, I guess it's a good position to be in.
Absolutely. I suppose we can sort of jump into something a bit more kind of fun, and obviously the projects that we've potentially worked on and obviously have worked on in the past and potentially in the future. Like, what would you can you think of a project that is probably one of your most sort of memorable in the past that you potentially could talk about?
I mean, I don't know if I can share most of the stuff on here, depending on I'm just trying to think. We've done so many projects, like literally, been privileged to go all around the world, do all kinds of projects. I think, like, I do find certain businesses really interesting that you don't think of every day. So your typical sort of agencies and video producers were like, oh, we want to do a fashion shoot with this big brand, or, we want to be all flashy and stuff, which is great and it's creative, and we do that stuff. But like, sometimes I come across business and I think, I didn't really know they existed, and they'd produce like industrial stuff, and it'll be something small, and it might be someone who produces these mic stands or something like that. But I find it interesting from a business perspective that they've created a business, and it's kind of a bit underground. But I remember one time, because when I first started, when I would get the production team and we had to do interviews, I was doing most of the interviews. So I was doing all the interview prep when we were doing the content. And I kind of had a certain style to interview people and get the right content out of them, which was great. And sometimes I just improvise. But I was like, I must have done hundreds of interviews like this. But I remember going over to Germany with Alex, and we had a gastroenterologist to interview. So people who don't know, gastroenterology is basically a study of the gut and stomach, and there were doctors, and one of the clients wanted us to go out there and film this guy in a hospital and ask him a few questions about certain therapy, which was great. I had my questions there and everything, but so during mid-interview, someone just rushes in, one of the junior doctors, and like, oh, Dr. So-and-so, we need you ASAP, kind of emergency thing. Me and Alex are looking at each other, what the hell's going on? He's kind of, actually kept the mic on, he carried on going. And he's just rushing out, and me and Alex are just looking at it. We didn't really know what to do. Waited, and sort of 10 minutes later, he kind of comes back in, puts his jacket on, and he's sweating a little bit, and he's just like, yeah, okay, let's carry on. And it was like, I was just curious. I was like, what the hell happened? And he's like, they needed to make a decision on whether to cut this guy's stomach out or not. And it turned out they didn't, and they were about to. And he was like, oh yeah, just good job I went out and stuff. So it was just something so serious that he took so calmly and was laughing about. But I was like, what the hell? And to me, that was like an experience being quite young. It was like one of the early days in the first few years. And I was like, damn, I had to pull myself back together and carry on with the interview.
Dealing with doctors, interesting experience.
Yeah, amazing people though. Like, I work with so many doctors and healthcare people. They are truly amazing people, and it just showed me, like, especially like the people who do surgery, how emotionally focused they are, and it's good because they don't do that. They don't show too much emotion towards the patient because they've got a job to do. You can't get too emotionally involved. But it just showed me, like, these guys are, on it, kind of thing. And I almost wanted to implement some of that, weirdly enough, into myself and the way I run the business. And I didn't want to get too emotionally involved. Like, for example, when I get a sale or don't get a sale, it's kind of just compartmentalize it. It is what it is, kind of thing. And that didn't mean I wasn't passionate about the business, but it just meant I was able to move forward more efficiently. There were hundreds, possibly thousands of hiccups during this business and the projects that we've done. And the more you let it affect you, the worse you do when you go forward or the next day. So I was able to kind of find that ability at some point just to cut off and move forward, whether it's bad sales or you have a bad project or, you know, you're not moving forward, or COVID, for example, which has just gone. You know, it's just that ability to stay positive and optimistic.
Absolutely. What sort of lessons have you learned then, I suppose, working with sort of high profile clients? I think one springs to mind, obviously, here in Manchester, with Redica, and obviously looking after a lot of their video content with the new sort of skyscrapers.
Yeah. The thing is, you learn something different from each client. I think one of the great things about this business is you don't know who you're getting through the door. We get inquiries from all kinds of industries, all kinds of places, all around the world. We get some weird inquiries. You know, and it's quite interesting. I think that's what kind of is the great thing with everybody in this business is they get to work on different projects all the time, different businesses all the time, and you learn something new from different people. So, you know, in healthcare, like it's such a big area, like, you know, and it's difficult to grasp everything, but each time we do a project, there's this whole process in the beginning where all the team has to learn about the project and the business. There's no way around it. And through that, you kind of learn a lot of things, and you learn how different businesses approach different things. Because like I said, I've got an entrepreneurial mindset, and I'm always interested in other entrepreneurs and startups and what they do and stuff. And I'm always interested in how businesses approach different things. I mean, you just mentioned Redica there, and we work with other construction companies. They work differently to the other construction companies that we work with, and how they run their business and how they sell their properties and how they view video marketing. So you learn something from everybody, but like I think from the marketing side, you learn a lot. If a company's got a good marketing department and they know what they're doing when it comes to marketing, you know, we're producing the video content, giving a bit of video marketing advice, but we're also seeing how they utilize it and how they make the most of it and how they get impact for the business. And we kind of learn from that as well. So I think the biggest thing kind of, or the biggest area, should I say, that we learn in is the people that we work with. So we work with a lot with marketing people and marketing departments. Now, these are professionals. They're the best marketers in the world, apparently. And, you know, how they see things, how they view things, how they use tone, you know, what they've done with their brand. All that's really interesting, because the thing is with business and marketing and stuff, there's no one right answer. Like even in video production, like there's not one right way to produce a video. You could go to 10 video companies and they produce different types of content, but all of them could achieve the same marketing objective, essentially. So it's another thing I like about businesses is there isn't one road to get there. So yeah, just learn lots of things, man. It's just kind of, and then still today, like we get businesses in and I look at the website, oh, right, okay, this is where these things come from in the world, and then this is how they're produced, especially the B2B businesses.
Yeah, I think it's interesting in the construction space, because obviously when they're creating the video, the kind of end goal is to sell properties or the apartments, etc. But then obviously with different brands, it might be to sort of brand awareness or drive sort of consumer sales and stuff like that. So it's always interesting. Obviously, when we have the discovery call, that we try and pin that down and obviously work out exactly sort of how their sort of target market is and stuff like that, and how we can actually really improve and obviously work together in collaboration for that.
Yeah, I think the overall picture for us is, because like, yeah, we want to produce good video content, and we have done over the years, obviously. But it's more about helping people. So like understanding what our video content is being used for. So when we were in healthcare and I was interviewing that doctor, even that first job I talked about earlier, in the back of my head, I thought, okay, this content is going to be used by other doctors who can then help patients more effectively. So I was thinking like what this video tool does for people and how it transforms communities. Even at that stage. So it wasn't just about, you know, producing a quality video and saying goodbye for me from the beginning. And I say this to my guys today, like, what is it you're doing for the clients? You know, how are you helping them? For the example you've just given there, you know, they're selling more properties, you know, which means you're helping another business sell more, basically, and helping another business. And it's kind of what transformations are we making by doing this video content for other brands? And I think that's kind of a good point of sort of fulfillment for me.
Absolutely. I sort of feel like I potentially know what your answer is, but it'd be interesting to try and figure that out. What are some of the trends that you're seeing within the sort of video marketing landscape? And I suppose, how are we adapting to them as well at Shoot Business?
Cool. I think on one side, people are starting to create their own video content. It's just become more accessible. Obviously, with the sort of rise of mobile phones, we can shoot amazing content and quality on the phones. And even when I started this business, they were probably still on Nokias and kind of playing Snake and stuff. But it's kind of now it's kind of, you literally have a good tool in your pocket which produces cinematic quality video, if you like. And people are starting to produce their own content. You've seen the rise of TikTok and YouTube Shorts and stuff recently, and it's all about people producing their own content. Whereas before, you would always go to an agency for any type of content. Now, obviously, companies still need to use agencies like us for our expertise and doing professional content, maybe like CGI, animations, more kind of bigger shoots and stuff like that, which we do take care of. But I'm always encouraging marketing departments and marketing people to create their own content, whenever you can. And because the thing is, the frequency on content needed is a lot more. And it's gone up and up. Like I was saying in the beginning, companies thought they just needed 1 5-minute video and they could sit on it for 12 months. Fast forward a little bit, companies have then thought, right, okay, we need to release video content every month. And now it's like every day. Like if you want to be good at video marketing, you have to release video content every single day almost if you really want to be good at it. And that's one thing that's changing.
People are resonating, I think, more with sort of authenticity and almost feeling that kind of that authentic feeling towards the brand, etc., which lends itself to the sort of user-generated style, because it feels like, if they're creating it themselves, then people are more sort of attracted to that at this moment in time. Yeah,
absolutely. Like this is like a change in the social media landscape where authenticity is becoming a very big thing. Scroll down social media nowadays, and like to me, half of it is just so much garbage there, and it's just so much information overload. And it's just like kind of frying our brains, and people are starting to reflect a little bit on that and think, okay, I only want to consume content which is authentic, that I can trust. I don't want any negativity coming into my mind, and
don't want to be sold to straight away.
Yeah, and like you don't want to see a bunch of ads, when you go on social media. So even the big brands are getting on top of the authenticity, and kind of creating user-generated content. For this particular reason. And then on the other side, obviously, can't move forward without talking about AI. And I think it's impacting all industries. It's impacting the sort of agency kind of owners as well. And I think for us, the mentality that we've had over here is, as soon as ChatGPT came out and everybody was panicking and people thought they were going to lose their jobs and agencies thought they're going to lose all the clients, I was like, look, we need to use AI to our advantage. How do we use this to move forward? How do we use it to improve our sales and marketing? How do we use it to improve our production? And the guys are already in the office starting to use AI to kind of progress forward, if you like. AI is helping us, with our scripts and checking our scripts. AI is helping us to spot new markets and ideas. AI is helping us with our blogs and stuff like that, and it's working brilliantly. So I only want to move further into AI as far as I'm concerned, from a business perspective. From kind of a market perspective, you're starting to see tools out there where you can put prompts in and videos are created. I just did some course material the other day as part of our video marketing course on AI. So it's just couple hours of me talking about certain AI tools that you can use and how you can use them. And I was talking about a few over there where you can actually combine tools. You can get one tool to create your script, you can get one tool to create your images, and you can get another tool to edit kind of your stuff out. So I can see various AIs working with each other in a bigger sort of production process. It's not quite there yet, but in the next few years, I can imagine a lot of video work will be done with AI. There might be a huge question around copyright and what they're using to generate this stuff. but already, like, you can create video content with AI. It does look like AI. I think that's the problem nowadays, and it will go back eventually to authenticity. Because what are consumers going to think if they see a video advert and they know it's been created all by AI, how engaged are they going to be with that particular video, knowing that no human was involved here? And I think we still are going to crave that human experience, that bespoke kind of thing. And the thing is, the business that we're in, going back to it, it's about consultative approach and advising our clients on the best approach to move forward. And yeah, like, that's kind of the two things I see kind of changing in the next 12 months.
I think I remember speaking to someone in the pharma industry, and it's actually working quite well. I think is it Sora AI, where they're able to almost turn, say, like a blog post or heavy text based piece of material, and obviously have the AI almost speak it out to you, like you see when you hit the sort of voice speaker button on like Google Translate or whatever, and instead of having to read the heavy text based sort of document, you can obviously just have it there in the background and obviously still pick up that information.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I played around with Sora, and it does produce some amazing content. And then you've got some of the other tools that I mentioned, like Synthesia, for example, where you've got like the avatars and presenters, and I can see that being used in the educational space quite a lot. Just to do e-learning content, educational content. So yeah, it's gonna be really interesting. There's so many tools out there now. There's new ones coming out every day, and I think there's going to be a race amongst the tools on like who moves forward and who does better, kind of thing. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. So 12 months. But my advice to people out there, whether you're an entrepreneur, agency owner, you're working for another company, you're a student, you're a startup, I would look into AI and how you can utilize AI to move forward in your careers.
Absolutely. I think I want to try and just touch back on the business a little bit as well. In terms of sort of the culture aspect, I think it's something that's really important, especially if obviously you're an entrepreneur and stuff. And like, how do you kind of like foster sort of a positive and a productive work environment at your business?
It's difficult. I don't, there's various things basically. So I mentioned something earlier on, which I think is important for entrepreneurs and leaders and people managing teams, is to allow people their space to make mistakes. And I think that's been key throughout this business, where whether it's production or sales and marketing, it's allowing people to try things and make mistakes and just keep trying and innovating and being smart with their ideas and making it in an environment where people can contribute ideas on one side, but also go away, execute them. But then if things don't go right, not punishing people for it, kind of thing, and just saying, yeah, no worries, big learning curve, move on, what you're doing next. And just to create that kind of environment is really important, because it first started in production, where we had to experiment with production, where you've got to try. There's a lot of trial and error when you do projects, and we got a lot of things wrong. Whether it's quality of work, what lenses we use, how we shoot a certain interview. That's and allowing that to happen, because if you don't do that, people aren't going to progress. They're going to be too scared to kind of make mistakes or try things, and you don't want to create a sort of negative environment like that. So the first thing is, for me, like, not asking people why they've done that, or kind of micromanaging their ideas and stuff. Just let them get on with it, and I'll just say, yeah, go for it, and let me know how it goes. And then my job after that is facilitating them, and understanding that you're a facilitator. When you're a leader, you're facilitating people to be, again, not to sound too cheesy, but the best versions of themselves. I think, like, when I first started, it sounded really ideal just to multiply myself and clone myself 20 times and I'd have a successful business. But then in hindsight, that would probably be a disaster, because I'm strong at what I'm strong at, and I'm weak what I'm going to multiply the weaknesses as well. So like there's people like in our team who are really good with details, and there's people in our team who are really good at being visionaries. So both have their advantages, both have their importance, both have their place, right? So that's kind of I think you just want the strongest people in the strongest areas, but like I don't need people in sales and marketing to be like me. I need them to be like themselves, but also get results, but then just be the best what they are themselves. Yeah, there's basic principles to follow and models and stuff like that, but I think creating an environment where people can develop themselves is really important, and allowing that to happen. If our office environment is quite relaxed, like there's and it's kind of, I think for me, the way I see it is you're the captain of the ship. You've got a ship to steer. You're out there. You've got the distance and the vision of where things are going and what you can see around you, what island you're heading towards, or what rocks you're about to hit. And it's your job to communicate that down to the people who work on this ship to keep it running, in an effective way. And they trust you on that. Like, because people can't see what you can see, but they are trusting you. I'm saying to them, for example, over that mountain, there's a pot of gold. And it's like you're the only one who can see it, even though you're communicating it. But there's people on the ground who are following you, have to go over some hot coal, a bunch of crocodiles, and a bunch of other challenges just to get to the mountain. So they are taking that leap of faith with you, in a sense, and trusting you to kind of do that. And I think like you want to create that. The second thing is creating that environment of trust. Like, I'm hoping people trust me to kind of, take the business forward and move into a certain direction. But at the same time, I'm trusting them to do their stuff. And for that reason, like, I don't micromanage. Like, I won't come in and say, right, you're 1 minute late here, you're 2 minutes late. Like, we're like going back, we're a quite flexible office. Some people want to work from home, it's fine. If some people have certain things to do, and it's kind of, for me, it's more about output and results, like being, I want the people to be happy and productive, right? And, that's what we can aim for. And the thing is, we're in a pressurizing business. When the projects come in, there's deadlines. We do have sales targets and marketing targets, like that are constant, that keep the business afloat. And, the pressure's on. Now, everybody's happy when things are going right in a business or any relationship, if you like. Nobody complains, nobody says anything, everybody's cool, everybody's happy. But when things aren't going too great, that's kind of when the test is for me, of like what direction we're going and how you treat people. Now, certain leaders or people in the team might suddenly become negative and not optimistic anymore, and that will change the environment and make things worse. Whereas, again, going back to allowing things to happen, and for me, it's about what you do after that. So that person then, facilitated them. They've said, look, we want to try this idea out. You facilitate them. You say, okay, here you go. Whether that's allowing them a spend on a credit card or booking them some space or whatever they need. My job is to say, right, what do you need to get there? And they will say, right, this, and I will say, right, cool, I'll facilitate you. Move forward. Let me know how it goes. Let me know if you need anything. They then come back with results A and B, and it's kind of still being optimistic at that point and saying, okay, that didn't work. Cool. What's your next idea? And that's it. There's no point being emotional about it. It's kind of, it happens because the thing is, I made a ton of mistakes myself. That's how I learned in this business. And I'm making it sound like I just, touched everything and it turned to gold. I had to make a lot of mistakes in the beginning of the business and try certain things. I had to have so many setbacks in terms of people saying, we don't want to work with you. Or
don't really talk about the deals that you lost.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, probably lost more deals than we've gained, right? And, we sit here thinking, people are probably looking at me or Shoot Business and thinking, yeah, these they just see the front end of things, and there were a lot of struggles. Though, there were times where, we'd go stretches of months without work. There would be some periods where I was thinking, right, how do I make payroll? But like I said, people stuck together. Like we have the type of people here And I do look for this when I bring people in. We have the type of people here who don't just, they actually perform better under pressure. They perform better when things aren't going right. They stick together. They help each other. They work as a team. And, this is a lot of the time today. This is done without me, though. So for me, it's creating that kind of environment. And we are creatives. Like, in some part of the process, you can't just point to somebody and say, become creative and come up with an idea. It takes time. It takes, a certain environment. So for me, it's creating an environment where people are allowed to make mistakes. They're allowed to be themselves. No judgment on anybody. I want people to go out there and try things. Actually, part of me wants people to go out there and fail, in a sense. And I don't mean that because I want people to feel bad. I want that because what they're going to learn from that failure, they will learn more than me sitting there and telling them how it is. And a lot of the time, I could sit there and say, go in this direction, do this. This is my opinion. And they'll go away and do it, probably. But is that more beneficial for a person, or is it more beneficial to say, actually, here's a few pointers. I'm going to give you a few sort of nudges of direction, and you go out there and explore. And I think people will benefit more from that and learn more from that. And also it's more self-fulfilling. The person can take ownership and responsibility. And I think I think still today I'm still trying to create that environment. And I think if you want to be a good leader and you're thinking at the moment, you might be thinking, okay, Nomi's just letting things happen. That's not technically how a successful business works. But there is that 5 or 10% in me. If I see the ship going towards the rocks, I can sit people down and, tell them to hold up and drastically change things, basically. So, I can be quite aggressive when I want things to go a certain way, and that's kind of been my way. But I only need to utilize that 5% of the time if, things are going into a certain direction, because I'm just trying to save people. And if you're like that all the time, then, you're not going to allow people to grow and you're not going to be able to scale. So, it's just knowing when to do that, basically, is the key. Like I said, we're going towards the rocks. That doesn't, there's a way to do that, to tell people how to kind of steer away from that. But I'm kind of, you need to come in and out in that kind of sense, knowing when to kind of put your foot down and knowing when to stand back. But a lot of the time, you want a business where majority of the time you are standing back and people are just looking after themselves.
I think prime example myself, obviously I've been brought in to kind of look after the sales side of things, and obviously I've delved into a lot of the marketing stuff and our own sort of internal social media and stuff. So I think it's been really good. And obviously I think that's the benefit you get from being in sort of a small agency. You can dip your toes in a few things and see how it goes.
Absolutely.
How obviously, I know we've worked quite long term with a lot of clients. How have you built and sort of maintained sort of strong relationship with our sort of long-standing clients, I guess?
I think the first thing is delivering a good experience. I think that's really important for most businesses.
It's one of our values.
Yeah, it is one of our values is that experience, because on the cover of it, on the base of it, we're producing video content, we're producing videos. And I realized a while ago, this was mostly from feedback, when I would ask people what made you choose us or how was your experience, and they would tell me. And a lot of the time they would say, oh, Nomi was brilliant, or Alex was brilliant. He guided me through the whole process. They were really friendly. They were uplifting. They were really accommodating. And I started to realize they're not talking anything about the video quality.
Yeah. And
I thought, okay, this is an emotional kind of buy or an emotional response, even in a B2B setting. Like, it's not in a B2C kind of Apple product kind of thing. It's literally a video production service to another business, but they're making an emotional response to it. So that quite quickly made me realize we're delivering a good experience for people. And we're giving them a good experience by taking care of that whole process, and guiding them through and bringing them on shoots with us and, showing them what we do. And it's almost like going on a ride for them to see this whole video production process, and it's kind of thrilling them a little bit, showing them the inside way of, how videos are produced. And a lot of our marketing managers and business owners and people, they really enjoy coming on our shoots and sitting there and watching the whole process and being behind the scenes, essentially. So I think that's the first thing. You have to deliver a good experience. It doesn't matter how good your product is. If you don't deliver a good experience, you're gonna end up with some problems, right? I use Apple as an experience thing all the time, but you could have us as a video production company, and you could have another video production company who produces, let's say, for example, produces better video content. They use better cameras, better lights, better crews, and everything. But if they deliver a bad experience to the person, they're probably not going to use them again. So you can forgive that quality a little bit and give them a good experience, and they'll use you again. So I think that was key. So once we delivered a good experience, when another video need came up, they're going to be like, oh, I had a really good experience with Shoot Business and know me. Let me ring them up again. I want that experience again. So I keep telling people over here, we're in the business of delivering good experiences. If you can get that into your head and you can transmit that to people and then carry it out, that's kind of the foundation for success, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we always obviously pride ourselves on that, and I think that's why we've got obviously quite a strong process when it comes to the initial inquiry from somebody.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously we always try and make sure that we provide that experience from the first phone call that we have with them. Yeah,
absolutely. It's that first touch base. As soon as essentially you're getting a stranger coming to the door. They don't know who we are. They don't know anything about us. That first phone call, that first email, the experience starts as soon as they touch your business. That means land on your website. That's essentially when the experience starts. In between that, you've got calls, discovery calls, proposals and quotes, and project kickoff and production and post-production. You've got maybe 10 different things that they need to have a good experience in for this to be a successful thing. And it is about kind of little things like a lot of the time things would come out like when I was talking about doing a lot of interviews in the past. One of the things that would come out, people are terrified of doing interviews, right? And if they've not been on camera before, it's quite a terrifying thing for people. For some strange big hairy man to be sat on the side of a camera asking them questions. And one of the feedback we got was, I've never done an interview before, but Nomi made me feel really comfortable. He made me feel really comfortable. And I was doing that naturally. I wasn't thinking in my head, I need to make this person feel comfortable. I was just naturally being
who I am. Itself, isn't it?
100%. And it is. And then we've had people who would say, oh, I got interviewed by another company last year, but they made me feel really awkward. I felt really awkward. And we actually tried this. We sent a freelancer to interview people. And because we recorded the whole thing, because the part we did, cutting his voice out, but that part we could hear when we got back to the edit. And actually, because they weren't skilled in interviewing, or they didn't have that, they were just, a camera person, quite technical, they actually made the person feel uncomfortable. And you could see it on camera, they, start sweating and twitching, and that because he had awkward responses, or, whatever he was doing. But it's a small thing you maybe don't think about, but it's, again, an experience. They come out of that and think, wow, that was, actually that was quite good. I enjoyed that. And then, your job's done, I guess.
How does that link in with a company's branding?
In terms of?
Sort of how important is branding, especially from ourselves and obviously for our clients as well. I know that we have to work quite extensively on certain projects, and how important have you found branding to be within sort of high profile clients?
So branding is really important in the sense that it represents who you are, and it can be that start of the experience and what people, because brands are heavily linked to emotion, and how you present your brand, there will be 3 or 4 emotions that people immediately will lean towards when they see your brand or feel your brand or get, speak to someone with the brand values. So I think like as a startup, like people focus on brand a lot, and you can't make a brand overnight. It doesn't work that way. Brand is built through reputation, through experience, through delivering work. That's how your brand is built. So, for example, Coca-Cola didn't create Coca-Cola and just become that brand Coca-Cola. It took them decades to become that brand of Coca-Cola. It wasn't just a logo and colours, was it? It was just the build-up of something. So I think like it's essential, if you're in a startup stage or early stage, it's essential to think about how you build your brand and work out those key parameters to work towards building a brand, which is fine. If you think you're going to create a logo and sit there and think, right, I've got a brand now, I don't think that constitutes a brand for me. Brand is something a lot deeper. It's something that's built up. It's something that can trigger emotions in the audience quite quickly.
Yeah, like Nike can just do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
They sort of sell the vision and the dream and the goals,
100%.
Which is, I suppose, your fitness journey.
Yeah, and brands change direction, right? Nike has changed direction sort of a few times, depending. Like Nike have not always been that way, but then certain deals change certain things, and they created a whole movie about how Michael Jordan changed direction of the brand, right? And almost created his own brand out of Nike, which became just as valuable, and it still is today. But like, once Nike went into that world with the greatest basketball player in the world, who wore the sneakers every game, and created that iconic jump logo, things changed for them. The brand changed, the perception of the brand changed. So if that wasn't there, how would Nike be viewed amongst athletes and stuff like that? So before that, it was probably Converse. So yeah, it's interesting in terms of partnerships that the brands make these days to change the direction of what they want people to think about them.
What, I suppose, just touching on you personally, like how do you, I suppose, balance your work-life balance right now, and sort of what advice, I suppose, could you potentially give aspiring sort of entrepreneurs as well?
So the startup entrepreneur, I don't think I had a work-life balance. It was just mostly work. I'm not going to promote that or tell people to do that, or even not to do that. Like, I'm not either or in terms of hustle culture and stuff. I'm the type of person, you do what you do to get things done. And yeah, that meant I'd work more than 40 hours a week, but I'm not moaning about it either. Like that for me was like, you live by the sword, you die by the sword kind of thing. But in terms of moving forward, right now for me, starting to transition into actually focusing on quality over quantity, because we're not going to live forever. So like, health is really important for everybody, whether you're a startup or you're an established business person. Like, focus on your health, because like without your health, you're not going to be able to do anything anyway. So it's like, I see some people, entrepreneurs especially, who run around, they're doing 40 plus hours a week, and I'm like, okay, do you diet or exercise? And they're like, well, I haven't got time. And I'm like, well, in 10 years time, if they're telling your arteries are clogged up, are you going to still say you didn't have time, or are you going to say, actually, I could have taken half an hour out of the day to just focus on myself? And that's not just physically, it's like mentally as well. And I think like, for me, I've started to kind of take more time out of the office, A, to obviously let people get on with the work, but B, kind of focus on myself, because I want myself to be physically and mentally optimal. Otherwise, I can't contribute to this business as effectively as I should be. And it goes for everybody who works in the business as well. I want them to be healthy, strong, because then they will have better lives outside the business with whatever they do, but they'll also have a better life in the business, because they'll be performing and not feeling happy and all that kind of stuff, which are associated with that kind of stuff. So that's just kind of
we try and be active, don't we, as well?
Yeah, we've got quite an
socials
active,
and stuff. Like we played paddle recently.
Yeah, we did. Yeah. We got quite an active team, which is good. I think the next time, what were you going hiking? I think maybe next time. Yeah. So just wait for a while to get back. So it should be good. But it's just I see far too many people sacrifice their health for work, and there is a balance there. Like there's some people out there who just work too little and think they don't want to spend too much time working. And again, I'm not a fan of that either, but there is a balance there where you've got to listen to your own body. Like if you need a day to rest, or you need a morning, or you need a few hours out, take them, because when you get back, you'll be full of ideas, full of inspiration, and kind of ready to work again. And you need to pursue your hobbies. I think it's really important. And I try to encourage people. If I hear people and, you say to me, you enjoy tennis and stuff, like I'll try and encourage you and like get involved. Or if Ahmed, who's doing stand-up comedy nowadays, he I'd encourage him. Like it's a good thing. Like it's actually something to be proud of. So, and it's probably a passionate thing for him, right? And everybody's different. So I think that is really important to have that work-life balance. But the problem is it's not just a one-size-fits-all. Everybody's going to have a different work-life balance. So, for example, right now, for a time, I'll take Wednesday morning out just to do gym and physio work, for example, and I'll just block out everything for that morning. So, and then obviously go back and work from home. But you have to make that time for yourself, I think. And I think every company, from a company perspective, companies should offer it in terms of having them socials like we talked about. Not only is that good team bonding, but it gets everybody active. I guess, played paddle, like you said, for the first time. I really enjoyed it. I want to play it again. And actually someone on LinkedIn, one of our sort of clients and someone I regard quite highly, was like, oh, is that paddle? Let's schedule in a game sometime. But it just shows that
it's a little conversation starter.
It's a conversation starter, but it's just triggered something, which is good, right? It's good to get out there and play with other people, and it's just, you have to move in order to do that. You have to make those arrangements, right? And people don't. So I think that's really important. So I'm just talking mostly about health at the moment. But I think you've got to balance it out. It's constantly changing. Like we don't work on fixed hours and stuff, but it's kind of 1 week you might have to put extra hours in. Like 1 week you might have to just, whatever's going on, you've got to put it in and you got to do it. That's kind of life of entrepreneur. But the week after you might have some more free time. And I think time passes quickly. So when you start out as an entrepreneur, you're like, okay, for the next few years, I'm just going to graft it, ignore everything, and work, fine. But then you realize you've dug yourself a deep hole, and you're 5 years into it and 6 years into it, and you're kind of, right, now you've got to climb back out and then create this time and space. So it's important, but I think the message for me is find what works for you. Like listen to yourself and find what works for you.
Definitely. Yeah, and I think as we look to sort of wrap up, really good just to kind of touch on obviously your future plans and our team's future plans for Shoot Business, and obviously we've just launched Shoot Academy as well. So it'd be good if you could just sort of tell us a little bit more about any sort of upcoming projects and the things that we're excited about.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're going quite strong on video production still, and we want to constantly grow as a video agency and be that go-to video agency that marketing departments and brands use when they need awesome video content to kind of meet their objectives. So I think, we've got a solid foundation for that. We want to get bigger and better in it and kind of, have those quality clients that we want to work with all the time, both on a project basis, and we do retainer stuff as well, where companies pay us every month to do their video content, which is great. And like you mentioned, we've just recently launched Shoot Academy. So the idea behind that is, look, we built up this experience over the last sort of 10, 15, 20 years. And we've made all the mistakes. We've produced thousands of videos. We've taken the whole process. We work with a ton of brands, and we want to share this kind of education with other people. And we want to transform, other people's worlds through teaching them how to do video marketing and video production content effectively. So that's the idea of Shoot Academy. It's kind of giving back at the same time in terms of what we learned and giving back. So we launched our first course recently called Video Marketing Masterclass on there, and it's a full online hours of kind of me, Alex, and Chris going through various things in video production and video marketing, and really teaching people how to do their own video content. So I want to release more courses on that in various things. So I think we've just done one on AI, and we want to teach people how to do their own podcasts like we are today, and just finding those useful bits of course material that we can give to people, and they can go away and create their own amazing content. For me, the ideal world would be like content creators, consume our content, our courses, they go out, they produce amazing content, and it really helps them get to where they want to go, whether it's educating other people or improving their business. So for me, that would be kind of the transformational point for me when I hear them kind of comments coming back after people have taken the course. Would be really good. So that's the idea behind Shoot Academy. And then we've got plans to actually do physical workshops. So companies have already called me in the past to come in and talk to the come in and talk to the marketing departments and advise them on how best to do video marketing. So I've been in like some big companies that I've sat down with, and you've got a ton of marketing managers around, and I'll tell them how to do their video content and video marketing and how they should approach it. And I want to take that model a bit further under Shoot Academy and go into certain businesses like as a team and teach people how to do video content on the ground, basically in workshops, in companies. So that'll also be part of Shoot Academy. Like we're doing this stuff as well. Like obviously you and Ahmed have set up a Shoot podcast, which obviously looks quite good, and it's hopefully some useful gems for people out there who, that hopefully we've talked about a lot of topics today, not just video marketing, but also entrepreneurship and startups and leadership, which I'm also interested in. And hopefully that can help another business person out there, that can help another leader out there, can help another startup out there. And I think that's really important for me. So, anything I can do to help other entrepreneurs, I'll definitely be looking at projects into that. And then constantly, we're based here at the university here, Manchester Met University. So I'm constantly working with business students and mentoring and giving back and, talking to people and doing talks and getting out there and giving the best advice I can possible, whether it's someone's career or someone setting up a business. Lots going on in the next 12 months. And I think like for me, personally, it's about growing organically, getting everybody performing really well over here, but then starting to bring in more people into the team who can kind of help us in that scale-up process. I think is going to be really important. Another thing I think we're going to try and push for is kind of more work, not just in the UK but abroad, and seeing if we can kind of set up offices in other countries and start to pick up work where there's a requirement for some kind of video marketing and video production services abroad. So I think it's going to be a busy 12 months, but I think it'll be a good ride for everybody, and I'm looking forward to it.
Fantastic. Yep. Thanks, Naomi. Really appreciate your time. We look forward to releasing the podcast.
Excellent. Thank you very much, guys. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.